Chord switching, a very basic concept in guitar playing, but very misunderstood. For many years, I've seen students really struggle with switching chords. And as I was sitting with them, I kind of realized there's something missing, because a lot of people, they learn the basic chords, your E minor, your D, your G, and then the teacher, or through the internet, you learn some chords, and then you kind of pick up the guitar and you try to switch the chords, but you don't really know how to switch the chords. You can learn the individual chords. You can see this is an E minor chord, this is a G chord, and so forth. But when you try to switch it, try to go from E minor to D, a lot of people would do stuff like, let's say, strum an E minor, and then lift one finger, and then lift the other, put this finger here first, and then this finger and this finger down. By the time they switch a chord, the song is over, So what I found over the years is that there's actually a system that is, in my opinion, is the best system if you actually utilize it. One day, as I was teaching, I was trying to help a student to learn how to switch chords, and I sort of had this light bulb moment when I realized that you can actually break it down to 3 steps. So between each chord that you're in and the next chord that you're switching to, there are actually 3 steps that you need to be aware of. And if you follow those steps, you're able to condition your fingers, your muscles, to get it right. So let's check it out. Okay, so what are the 3 steps? You basically lift, lead, and put down all the fingers at the same time. So what do I mean by that? Let's check it out with a specific chord progression. E minor to D. So your E minor looks like this, right? 2 fingers, second finger on the 5th string 2nd fret, 3rd finger on the 4th string 2nd fret as well, and then string number 6, 3, 2, and 1 are open. So that's your E minor chord. Okay, we strum all the strings. Now, what I'm sharing here applies to any chord change, but E minor to D is a good example for the beginner, sort of like open chords, because it's a completely different shape. So we need to sort of change the shape, and it's a great way to sort of look into this 3-step system. So I'm strumming the E minor. I'm lifting, that's the first step, lifting both fingers at the same time. I'm lifting it in the air just a little bit, kind of keeping the shape of the E minor, and then I'm leading, this is the 2nd step, leading with my 1st finger. Now, why do I lead in the air? I'm not putting it down yet. I'm just leading in the air. Now, why do I lead with this finger? Because this finger, the 1st finger, finger number 1, is going to be sort of on the bassiest or thickest string that I'm actually fingering in the next chord. I mean, technically there's one string in the D chord that is lower, bassier, the open D, the 4th string, but I'm not pushing it down. It's an open string. So basically what I'm doing, I'm sort of leading, I'm thinking mostly about this finger, but still in the air, 1st finger. And while I'm doing that, that's the 2nd step, right? Leading. I'm letting the 2nd and the 3rd sort of form the shape. So going back to the E minor, I'm lifting, leading, see? Because I know this finger is going to land here on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, the G string, okay? So I'm lifting, leading, letting the other guys form the shape of the chord. And then when I sort of have it, I bring it down at the same time, and then I strum the D chord. So let's do it again. I'll do it a little faster, kind of show you how that works. E minor, strum, lift, lead, form the shape, that's the 2nd step. 3rd step, put all fingers down at the same time and strum. Now let's take a look from D back to E minor. So I'm strumming the D chord, I'm lifting. See, all the fingers are lifting at the same time. Now I'm leading with my middle finger. Why with my middle finger? Because the middle finger, you see, it's going to be on the bassiest note that I'm fingering or I'm holding down in the next chord, which is E minor. So you see, technically, again, there's a lower note, but it's open. So as far as my fingers pushing anything down, this guy, which is the 5th string, 2nd fret, which is a B note, this is going to be my leading finger. So you see, when you switch from chord to chord, the leading finger changes based on the chord you're going to. But it sounds like a lot to think of, but once you get it in your fingers, it becomes second nature. So let's check it out. So D, I'm strumming, lifting everything at once, keeping it pretty close, but everything is in the air. I'm leading with my second. You see, when I'm leading with the finger that's going to be on the bassiest string, the other fingers, or in this case, the other finger, has a tendency to sort of fall into place. Of course, you have to know your basic chords. Okay, so D, strum, lift, lead, and that was the second step. And the third step, boom, both fingers at the same time, down. Okay, E minor to D, lifting, leading with my first, forming the shape with the other fingers. And then when I have it, everything is down at the same time. And then lift, lead with my middle. You see, that's what I found out. That's the 3-step system and why it works so well. When you do it very, very slowly, and you want to practice very, very slowly, literally like this, very slowly, basically what you're doing is you're programming your brain to do it right. Now, here's what we want to avoid. Anything that kind of looks like this. Strumming the E minor, for example. Putting one finger at a time. And then the next finger, and then the next finger. That's not good, because once you get into rhythm with the right hand, you're going to play this thing. By the time you get the chord, you kind of missed a bunch of strings, so, or you played open strings that are not supposed to be there. So that's not what we want to do. And of course, intuitively, a lot of people would do it one finger at a time. So that's a very common mistake, and that's why the 3-step system is so much better. But you sort of have to insist and kind of get it in under your fingers. So that's one common mistake. And another mistake that I see is that I see people lifting one finger at a time, sometimes dragging fingers across the strings. All this kind of thing doesn't really work that well. You may think it's going to take a while to get good results, but it's actually the most efficient and fastest way to get chord switching done right. So let me show you what I mean. You see, so basically I switched over between E minor and D, pretty quickly, following the 3-step system. It didn't look like I was doing 3 steps, and I was certainly not thinking about it too much. But I can tell you that I was lifting, leading, forming the shape, and putting it down at the same time. And then lifting, leading with whichever finger is going to be on the bassiest, thickest string in the next chord, forming the shape, which was the second step, and then putting the fingers down as the third step. Now let's take a look on some other examples with extreme close-up here. Okay, so let's go from D to C. I'm playing D, lifting, leading. See what I did? When I'm going from D to C, I'm not doing 1, 2, 3 like a lot of people do. 1, 2, 3. No, I'm strumming the D, lifting, leading with the third, this guy, ring finger. Okay, so strumming, lifting everything, keeping the shape of the D for a minute or for a millisecond, and then leading with my third finger, forming the shape, putting everything down, strumming 5 strings for the C chord. Now back to D, lifting, leading with my first. I'm just kind of thinking of my first. And when I'm saying leading, again, I'm leading in the air, right? I'm not putting it down first and then this guy or whatnot. I'm just lifting, strumming, lifting, leading, let the other ones form the shape of the D chord, and boom, putting it down at the same time. So again, so D to C, C to D, C. So that's basically the three-step system. Now, if you look at my hands, you wouldn't necessarily think 3 steps, but if you break it down, these are the 3 steps. Let's check out A minor to G. A minor, G, back to A minor, G. So let's break it down a little bit. A minor, I'm lifting, again, that's the same thing with each chord. Doesn't matter which chord to which chord, it's just first of all, we lift our fingers in the air. Leading with my third, while I'm going in the air, I'm leading in the air, I'm letting the other fingers get into the shape of this new chord, the G chord, and then I put it down, I put all the fingers down at the same time, try to put it down at the same time as much as possible. And then I lift everything at the same time, a little over the strings. I'm starting to think about this guy, because this is going to be on the bassiest string within this A minor chord, this middle finger, right? Because this is the lowest string that I'm pushing down. So A minor, lift, lead, put down, G. So faster. You see, I'm not really wasting too much energy, and I'm not making any sort of like one finger at a time, or I'm not dragging anything. And also when I'm lifting, when I'm getting out of the chord, I'm not doing it one finger at a time. I'm just lifting everything, leading with one finger, the finger that's going to be on the bassiest string. Of course, in the case of G, it's the third finger going to be on the 6th string, and leading, putting all the fingers down once I have the shape of the new chord. A minor, G, back to A minor. So when I'm thinking G to A minor, I'm thinking this finger back to A minor. See, it's leading. And the amazing thing about this 3-step system is when you think about one finger, but specifically the one that's going to be on the bassiest string in the next, or on the lowest note of the next chord that you actually push down, it's amazing how the other fingers tend to form the shape of the new chord. Let's take a look at a different example, A to E, A major to E major. So basically, when I'm playing my A chord, and I know that I'm going to switch over to an E, first, again, I lift, everything kind of stays the same, but it's in the air. And then I'm thinking this guy, the middle finger. Why is it? Because the middle finger is going to be on the thickest string that I'm pushing down. Again, we do have a thicker string, which is a 6th string, right? But it's played as an open string, so we don't have to worry about which fingers to put on it, because it's basically played as an open string. So I'm playing an A, I'm lifting, leading with my second. While I'm leading with my second, letting the index finger and the third finger to get into the E major shape, and then I bring everything down at the same time. So A to E, let's take a look at it again. Lift, lead. Now E back to A, now the index finger is going to be my leading finger. You see, it's sort of tucked back in there, but this is actually my leading finger. And when I'm using my 3-step system, which is second nature at this point, I don't really change this, because if I change it, I'm probably not going to be able to switch very well. So what I'm doing, I'm strumming my E chord, I'm lifting, leading with my first. You see, when I'm thinking of my first finger, the other ones tend to just form the shape. Our brain kind of knows where to go. Of course, again, you have to know your basic chord shapes. Okay, so I'm going from E, lifting, leading with my first in the air, and once I feel like I have the shape, I put all the fingers down at the same time. and then I strum 5 strings for the A. Now from A back to E, I'm lifting, leading with my middle finger this time. You see, it's a very subtle thing, especially if you kind of look at it from the side. But when you do it, it will make a lot of sense when you practice it like that. So what I would recommend, if you maybe learned your basic chords and you want to get really good with switching them, just take a few simple chord progressions like I've shown you here, like E minor to D, of course D back to E minor, A to E, G to D, A minor to C, different things like that, and use the 3-step systems. Now let's talk about the exception that we have in the 3-step system. Basically, the only exception to this is when we have common finger or fingers between chords. So for example, if I play G in this way, this kind of fingering, and I want to go to D, you see, this guy, the third finger, is a common finger between the two chords, G. Of course, you have different fingering for G, but this is the fingering that has that common finger. So what is the exception here? The exception is that I don't have to lift the common finger. That's basically it. See, so I'm still lifting and leading. You see, when I'm going to the D, I'm thinking this finger. From the G to the D, I'm thinking this finger because this is going to be on the thickest string outside. Out of the strings that I'm fingering. And then when I'm going to the G, I'm thinking middle finger because this is going to be on the bass. Again, it's not that I put it first and then I put this guy and then I put this guy. No, I'm just leading in the air. So G, lift, lead, keep the third finger in place because again it's the exception. We have a common finger, and strum, and then lift, lead, keep that common finger in, and that's how you switch when you have common fingers. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of it. I'll see you next time.